If you are an engineer planning on moving to Canada, there is good news. Canada has a range of channels you can follow. We will consider 5 of these channels in this video. Studying in Canada. Coming to Canada as an international student is one option to consider, especially for engineers looking to build up their skills through education. For candidates aiming to become professional engineers in Canada, obtaining their degree in Canada will see them fulfill the academic phase of the professional engineer licensure process. If you come to Canada as an international student, you are entitled to work for up to 20 hours per week during your study period and can work full-time during breaks. In addition, after completing your studies, you will be eligible for a post-graduation work permit, which will allow you to remain in Canada and work for any employer in any province. For married couples or couples in common law relationship, if one of you decides to come to Canada as an international student, the other can accompany them on an open work permit. An open work permit enables a person to work for any employer for a specified period. For example, your spouse could come to Canada to complete a course at the University of Toronto. You can accompany your spouse and work in Canada under an open work permit, allowing you to work full-time for any employer while your partner is studying. Coming to Canada as an international student can be challenging. You must find an appropriate school and program, apply, and be admitted, and then submit your study permit application. If your partner is joining you, expect additional processing times. The number of international students coming to study in Canada is consistently growing every year. Most of them also choose to stay in Canada after completing their studies. Approval of a Canada student visa is always at the discretion of the Canadian visa officer. Majority of international students come from Nigeria, India, China, France, Japan, the US, South Korea, Iran, Brazil, Vietnam. Coming to Canada as an international student can sometimes be the only option available to the candidate when factors like age, level of education, English and French proficiency, and Canadian work experience have been considered. Many of Canada's work permit and permanent residence pathways have eligibility requirements that are difficult to meet. This makes a lot of candidates choose to come to Canada first as an international student or as a partner of an international student. This not only opens the possibility of an open work permit for their partner, but also provides a pathway to Canadian permanent residency. Studying in Canada is expensive. Expect to pay anything from 9,000 Canadian dollars per year to 50,000 Canadian dollars per year as tuition fees. However, investing in education could be worthwhile, especially when it provides the opportunity for you or your partner to work in a lucrative position while the other is studying. If you are considering international studies in Canada, you should also be aware that you will have to provide proof of finance as part of your study permit application. Generally, you must provide evidence that you will be able to afford 1 year's tuition and living expenses. Processing times vary depending on the country you are applying from and whether your partner is coming with you It is important to factor in the time it takes to research programs, apply for schools, and gain admission. You must also consider program start dates in Canada. After securing admission, the study permit itself can be processed in a few weeks or months. Most post-secondary programs in Canada begin in late August or early September of each year. Although there are some programs that allow students to begin in the winter semester, that usually starts in January. If you do your research, you will be able to find programs that start at other times throughout the year, but September and to a lesser extent January are the two main program start dates in Canada. There are no guarantees with the Canadian immigration system. There is always a probability that a study permit application could be denied. There is a risk that the open work permit application for the accompanying spouse could be denied. Ensure that you are aware of the possible risks. Express entry. Express entry is open to skilled, educated foreign workers with ability in English or French or both. Individuals of any age may become a candidate, but preference is given to younger workers seeking immigration to Canada. Candidates can visit the Canadian immigration website and express their interest in becoming permanent residents. Eligibility may be through any of the three Express Entry linked programs. The first is Federal Skilled Worker Program. You must score at least 67 points out of 100. Points are awarded for age, education, language ability, work experience, and other factors. The second is the Federal Skilled Trades Program. It's for tradespersons with experience in an eligible occupation. The third is the Canadian Experience class. It is for workers with ongoing or recent skilled Canadian work experience. The criterion for each program is different, and it is possible to be eligible for more than one. For example, if you have a mix of foreign and Canadian work experience, you may be eligible for both the Federal Skilled Worker Program and the Canadian Experience class. Engineers automatically fall under the Skilled Worker category, making them eligible to apply for Express Entry through the Federal Skilled Worker Program. For their applications to be successful, applicants must follow the steps below. The first is meet the minimum requirements, and then create an Express Entry profile. Afterwards, receive a CRS score. Afterwards, get an invitation to apply. Next, collect supporting documents, and finally, pay your fees and submit your application for permanent residency. If eligible, you are assigned a score out of 1,200 based on your education, career history, and other personal details, and will be ranked against other candidates under what is called the Comprehensive Ranking System, or CRS. Every few weeks, the top ranking candidates are invited to apply for Canadian permanent residency. While in the pool, candidates can strive to increase their CRS points total and thus their ranking by providing better human capital factors, for example, by retaking a language test or completing additional work experience. If you are eligible for one of the above programs, you can also apply through Express Entry for the Provincial Nominee Program. If you're nominated, you'll get additional 600 CRS points so you can be invited to apply quickly. Express entry is relatively quick, and most candidates can expect their application to be processed from about 6 months and above, depending on many factors, including the candidate's home country. You must consider time to take language exams, time to gather your academic credentials and have them certified, time to get police reports, time to get employment references, and so on. The process is entirely online, and it is easy to track the status of the application online. Furthermore, Express Entry is a system that rewards proactive individuals who can prove to the government that they are likely to be economically successful upon settlement in Canada. Success in this system is not guaranteed, as the government invites only a portion of candidates from the pool when it conducts one of its draws. However, the government has stated that the Express Entry pool is now the main source of economic permanent residence applications, and over time, the CRS cutoff threshold has decreased. Provincial Nominee Programs. The Provincial Nominee Program, PNP, was created by the Canadian government to give local provinces the opportunity to nominate immigrants who wish to live, work, or settle in their province. While some provinces use the CRS scores to shortlist applicants, others nominate skilled professionals to fill urgent labor market needs based on the national occupation classification codes of their past work experience. In such cases, you will have a better chance of receiving a provincial nomination if the province is looking for engineers in your field of expertise. As labor market requirements evolve over time, the in-demand professions across provinces may change. Engineers are advised to keep track of the PNP streams and draws. If eligible, you first apply to the province for a provincial nomination. Some PNP streams require you submit an expression of interest before you may be invited to apply. Upon obtaining a nomination, you then apply for permanent residence. Some PNP streams are aligned with the Express Entry system. These are known as enhanced streams. A nomination obtained through an enhanced PNP stream results in an Express Entry candidate being awarded 600 additional comprehensive ranking system points, effectively guaranteeing that an invitation to apply for Canadian immigration will be issued. The application for permanent residence will receive priority processing by the federal government with a processing time target of 6 months or less. PNP streams that are not aligned with Express Entry are known as base streams. A nomination certificate obtained through a base PNP stream does not alter a candidate's Express Entry CRS score. Indeed, eligible individuals may apply to a base PNP stream without ever having an Express Entry profile, and base PNP streams may offer a pathway to permanent residence for individuals who are not eligible to enter the Express Entry pool. For express entry candidates who have not yet met the CRS cutoff threshold set in express entry draws, enhanced PNP streams offer the opportunity to obtain additional points, resulting in the issuance of an invitation to apply. For individuals not eligible for express entry, base PNP streams leave the door open for economic immigration to Canada. As this is a two-step process, application processing times include a provincial processing stage and a federal processing stage, and both stages should be considered when considering the overall time it takes from start to finish. Applicants should have the intention to live in the province that they are applying for. Once Canadian permanent residence has been granted, permanent residents have the right to live and work in any Canadian province or territory. Labor Market Impact Assessment. This is for candidates who have been offered a job by a Canadian employer. The employer will need to pay relevant fees and prove conclusively that no substitute Canadian citizen or permanent resident could be found to perform this job. The employer would also need to meet other requirements to be deemed eligible to hire the foreign worker. There are two types of labor market impact assessment. One for temporary work in Canada under the Temporary Foreign Worker Program, the TFWP, and the other for permanent immigration through express entry. After receiving 1 year of work experience in Canada through the Labor Market Impact Assessment, the candidates can apply for the Canadian Experience class through the Express Entry Immigration System. This is a sure way to boost the CRS score. Foreign workers who may otherwise be unable to secure a work permit or find it difficult to do so, the TFWP offers an opportunity to work in Canada for a specific employer. For employers, obtaining a labor market impact assessment allows the business to fill labor shortages. A labor market impact assessment application may take up to 4 months, including the time the employer must advertise the position before asking the government for permission to hire you. The labor market impact assessment approved foreign workers do not receive an open work permit and are instead tied to a particular employer. This means that they have less immediate flexibility should they wish to change employer later, unless in the meantime they have pursued another immigration or work permit option. International Experience Canada. Canada has a bilateral youth mobility agreement with more than 30 countries and territories. Under the IEC program, foreign youths aged between 18 and 35 can get a temporary work permit, allowing them to travel and work in Canada. Whether you want to take a gap year before starting post-secondary studies, complete a co-op or internship abroad, or gain international work experience after graduation, IEC route is for you. Every year, several open work permits are allocated to each participating country. Candidates can visit the Canadian immigration website and notify authorities of their desire to get one of these work permits. After submitting this expression of interests, candidates may receive an invitation to apply for a work permit. With this invitation, candidates may submit forms and pay the application fees. Successful applicants receive a letter of introduction, which is presented on arrival in Canada for the work permit to be issued. IEC program is usually open for about 9 months each year, but your chances of receiving an invitation will depend on your nationality. The IEC program is an easy way to get a Canadian work permit for candidates that fulfill the requirements. The IEC program allows you live and work in Canada for up to 2 years, depending on your nationality and the IEC category. Candidates under the working holiday category may obtain an open work permit, meaning they can work for just about any employer in Canada. The IEC program is a path to obtaining Canadian permanent residency, as the work experience you gain in Canada may give you an advantage when applying for permanent immigration to Canada. Once candidates express their interest in obtaining a work permit, they need to wait for an invitation to apply before they can submit their application forms. It can take days, weeks, or even longer to receive this invite, as they are issued to candidates at random. However, once the forms and payments are submitted, it should take about 8 weeks to receive your letter of introduction. The time limit on the work permit means it might be more beneficial for you to apply for permanent residency soon after getting the permit, if you're eligible to do so. You can apply for both simultaneously. In some countries, demand for IEC work permits is more than the supply, and thousands of candidates are left disappointed. Some employers regard the limited duration of the work permit as too short, as they will be looking to hire staff who can stay with the company for a longer period. Also, some employers regard the working holiday permit as a transient permit and may question participants' career aspirations as a result. It is up to you to get the right application. So it's up to you to consider whether you would like to go through this route or consider the express entry system directly. If you are an IEC participant, then your spouse or common law partner may be able to obtain an open work permit and accompany you to Canada. For your spouse or partner to obtain an open work permit, you must be employed in Canada in a skilled occupation and must submit documentation proving this as part of your spouse or partner's application. So this can work both ways. If you are struggling to gain work authorization in Canada and your spouse or partner is eligible for the IEC, they may be able to get their IEC work permit and have you accompany them after they secure a skilled occupation.